Welcome back to the place where the truth always comes out and the drama never stops. Celebrity Spill Corner. This time, the argument between 50 Cent and Rick Ross, which has been going on for almost a decade, is about more than simply music. Rick Ross has consistently acted as though he is too wealthy and powerful to give a damn, but now his own baby mom has come forward with some scandalous information that might alter everything, and trust me, it's worse than anyone could have ever guessed. Despite showcasing his riches and power to establish his entire reputation as a boss, Rick Ross is now being accused of being weaker than he seems. Won't go away, and Ross's decision to defend himself was motivated by more than just admiration. How did it all begin, though? Surprisingly, it wasn't a street fight, a diss track, or even a terrible business agreement. A glance began it all. When he saw 50 Cent at the 2008 BET Awards, Rick Ross realized he had a problem with him for whatever reason. 50 Cent later stated that he didn't recall seeing Ross at the event, but he didn't even realize there was a problem. As we all know, Ross interpreted that as an act of outright contempt, if there is. 50 Cent started acting like a chess master when Ross made the decision to launch this conflict, making sure Ross would never learn from the situation. Let's now discuss Ross's baby mama's recent revelation and the reasons this purported boss has been keeping a close eye on Ross while he was at the top of his game, leading the life of a successful rap artist, owning 2 platinum albums, a thriving Maybach music brand, and building his name as. He saw the largest boss in hip-hop as in charge, well-respected, and even feared. That all changed, though, when Ross saw 50 Cent at the 2008 BET Awards. But for some reason, Ross felt disrespected. Maybe it was his inflated ego or paranoia. But instead of dismissing it, Ross saw it as the perfect opportunity to attack one of the most cruel guys in hip-hop. This is the point at which things get insane. I don't even remember what Ross was talking about, 50 Cent said in later interviews. That night, when Ross realized how little he cared, everything started to fall apart, but Ross took it as disrespect and ran with it. When 50 Cent goes to war, he ruins everything and plays chess, not checkers, as Ross did not comprehend. He does not get into little fights, respond with a diss track, and then go on. Ross was unaware of what he had just entered. He believed he was igniting some controversy for amusement in an attempt to elevate his reputation and place his name next to one of the world's biggest rappers. Rick Ross didn't just offer a few words during an interview. Instead, he went directly to the. When he unleashed Mafia Music, a diss track that was more than just a show-off, he didn't skimp on content. One of 50 Cent's darkest experiences, the 2008 house fire that almost led to tragedy, was the target of Ross's attack. Shenica Tompkins, 50's ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child, had already come forward at that point, accusing 50 of igniting the fire that destroyed her house while 6 people were inside. The authorities never established that 50 was at fault, but the whispers continued, and Ross was well aware of his actions. Not only was he annoying 50 Cent, but he was also aiming for the most excruciating injury. There was a big problem with Ross's attempt to paint 50 Cent as a monster who would do whatever it took to quiet his enemies. 50 Cent was not the kind of person who would overlook such an attack. Ross kept going on, feeling unstoppable and confident, not knowing what would happen next. Was more than a playful rap duel. Rick Ross resisted giving up and even pretended to be victorious before the confrontation even started. He showed off his skills in interviews, leading people to believe that he was the new king of the streets and that 50 Cent was no longer relevant. But Ross failed to see one thing. Above all, 50 Cent ruins reputations in addition to using words to win battles. Instead of just putting out one insult song and going on, he was going to reveal everything Ross didn't want the public to know. Something that 50 Cent found when he started digging was, "I'm going to ruin your life, bro. My goal is to ruin your life." 50 Cent's message was that he was not merely reacting, he was aiming for complete devastation. The first thing he did showed who Rick Ross really was. The reputation Ross had developed throughout his career as a street boss. A man who rose above the fray, took bold decisions, and living like a true kingpin was a lie though, since 50 possessed something that could destroy everything. When pictures of Rick Ross wearing a correctional officer's uniform started to go viral online, it threatened everything Ross had worked so hard to achieve. The same man that drove the streets was actually employed by the system, handling jail records, not selling anything. Nevertheless, 50 Cent made sure that everyone was aware of the truth by calling Ross out in interviews rather than relying solely on the internet. Shared those awful photos on social media, making fun of him and making them appear in posts and memes everywhere. The whole idea that Ross was a street king was disintegrating, and 50 Cent still required more proof. So he turned to Tia Kemp, his own baby mom, who knew Ross better than anybody. Tia sat down and told 50 Cent everything since she was more than happy to talk to him. By asserting that Rick Ross was not truly living like a king, but rather was pretending to be one by renting automobiles, borrowing jewels, and staying in lavish mansions, she revealed a completely other side of the man who people thought was a boss. Houses that weren't even his were part of the illusions that supported his so-called empire. If that wasn't awful enough, Tia didn't hesitate to confirm what had been rumored for years. Ross was a jail officer. As for Rick Ross, where had he been all this time? That quiet told it all. It was irreparable. The internet had already taken control, and 50 Cent had done something that no one believed was possible. Each meme, diss track, and comment was dragging, and Ricky's quips were everywhere. The hip-hop world was mocking Ross's brand, which damaged his reputation. However, if you believed 50 Cent was finished, you were mistaken. This time, though, he erred and decided to publicly embarrass Ross by disclosing a confidential recording involving Lastonia Levston, another of Ross' baby moms. Ross may have dismissed the Officer Ricky affair with a laugh, but this was something else entirely, and it backfired spectacularly. But Lastonia could no longer take it and sued 50 Cent for mental anguish while in court. Rick Ross, however, kept on going, releasing music, staying out of the spotlight, and pretending that nothing affected him. Unexpectedly, his quips lose some of their impact, and the fans also begin to move on. His music, his followers, and his empire all remained intact despite the damage to his reputation. Regretfully, the case caused him to lose money where it hurt most. After being compelled to file for bankruptcy, the court ordered him to pay $5 million for the first time in the entire case. Thought that this conflict was over. As if things couldn't get any messier, previously unreleased images from Tia Kemp's 2009 cover shot for Smooth magazine ignited the internet once more. These photos were entirely different, yet baby mama turmoil is nothing new in the entertainment scene. Rick Ross is still terrified of 50 Cent, and Tia Kemp made a startling return by going live on Instagram and explaining that it's because 50 Cent knows too much. There was hardly any lace on their set. It all came down to who was behind the camera, and 50 Cent was without a doubt that person. It was Rick Ross's fiercest enemy who was personally in charge of the entire shoot. In addition to helping Tia land the cover, 50 Cent made sure Rick Ross was aware of the culprit. If that wasn't enough to persuade Ross, Furious Smooth magazine added even more information. The title is messier, but where is the beef? However, the real weapon was that the issue's guest editor was 50 Cent, who was next level petty. At the same moment that everyone thought the drama was done, these two found strategies to taunts, and the latest argument has taken the feud in a completely other way. 50 Cent was not pleased with Rick Ross's relationship with Big Meech after his release from prison because he is the executive producer of the BMF TV series, which maintained the Black Mafia family legacy during Big Meech's incarceration. As a result, he felt betrayed by his decision to leave prison and join Rick Ross right away. And 50 Cent quickly responded. He hopped on Instagram and made a dubious post to let everyone know how he truly felt. "I guess I am Big Meech," he said. "I think I am Big Meech," alongside a giant rat. The captain's level of disdain was unmatched, but it wasn't the worst aspect. Let's hear it, Big Meech. The fact that 50 severed Meech's relationship with Tammy Sins clarified it that he had committed a serious error. Because this is when things get really crazy. I'm pleased you asked. Meech's business partner and the one who managed important matters behind the scenes, Tammy was more than just his assistant. But just when it looked like the drama could get much stranger, she allegedly turned on him and joined the FBI as an informant. Although 50 Cent and Rick Ross have a lengthy history of back and forth, no one loves clowning Ross as much as 50 does. Not even his own baby mom, Tia Kemp, and this time she went all out. Can you guess who threw themselves into the mess, giggling at how upset 50 was about Me's photo with Rick Ross? It's none other than Rick Ross himself. Tia went above and beyond by telling Rick Ross that he was involved in the same dubious circumstance that resulted in Diddy being charged with federal trafficking. Asked him in jest, "Why isn't Rick Ross over there showing his love for his close friend Sean if Diddy throws so many parties?" She continued her strong critique by ridiculing Ross for suddenly he had been exposed by going quiet before. But she chastised him for acting as though he didn't know what was happening. Tia was clear that Ross might not want to talk about Diddy's situation, but she wasn't going to ignore it. Tia ridiculed Ross on Instagram Live for saying nothing about it. She stated directly to him, "You are really loud when it comes to rat beef, but now when things get serious you have nothing to say." Tia did not only. When it appeared that there was nothing more she could do, she went one step farther and suggested that Rick Ross was directly responsible for ordering strikes on people. She wasn't scared to identify names and produced evidence. The situation worsened after she brashly said that she was going to act, planning to expose him and send federal agents straight to his door. Fans were shocked by Tia's shocking confession, in which she cited Miss Carroll, made reference to a murder, and claimed that Ross was directly to blame for the disaster. Should you be thinking about who Miss Carroll is following her departure from her mother's home? Tia accused Ross and his team of being responsible for her murder. She added that a guy was shot just in front of a black house, which could have been another way that Ross's circle was connected. In a subsequent Cash a Please program, Tia took her claims to the microphone and divulged 10 years' worth of secrets and further information. Tia didn't mince words and started sharing things that nobody had expected. She claimed that most people were only aware of the children who were known, and that Rick Ross had 9 or 10 children in all, many more than people had thought. Although he never mentioned others, they may search for it on Google. Subsequently, she disclosed still another surprise. One of his children, in her judgment, was of Russian descent and resembled Drake identically. Why hadn't Ross told anyone about that child? She asked, laughing.